morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate everyone showing up and having some great interest in what we're here to talk about today. My name is Michael Barris. I'm a product manager with OCI Multi-Cloud, and I'm going to be joined in a little bit by Pat Bangalore and Jeremy Shearer from our Oracle Alliance team at AWS, and Avinash Singh from one of our customers, Equifax. So we're going to be talking today about Oracle Database at AWS. It's been a little bit over a year since we announced limited preview at AWS reInvent 2024 with one featured, one service in one region. And we've been pretty busy since then working with our launch customers and partners to get the service built out, robust, tested, and ready for all of our customers. We launched generally available this summer in July with 2 major service offerings in 2 regions, each with 2 availability zones. And we've continued to be busy ever since then. So we've launched support for Terraform, Autonomous Recovery Service, AWS Key Management Service integration, channel partner private offers to allow you to purchase through your partners, and a whole lot more coming, including 20 more regions that we've announced. They're going to be coming in the next year or so, with some even sooner. So what is Oracle Database at AWS? Well, this partnership between Oracle and AWS brings Oracle database services running on Oracle hardware, managed by Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, sitting in AWS data centers and available to connect to your applications and services running in AWS. You purchase it through the AWS Marketplace, you connect it to your Amazon VPC, and you get great low latency connectivity between Exadata hardware running in AWS data centers. Really great revolutionary thing that we're doing, and a really wonderful partnership between our 2 companies. So why did we do this? Well, our joint customers came to both of us over the years and they said, we really need a few things from you. We're bringing our workloads to the cloud. We're really excited about the benefits and the capabilities that we get in AWS. But there's some workloads that we just can't bring yet. There's some workloads that we can't migrate. What do we need to accomplish that? Well, we need the full features and capabilities of Oracle Exadata and Oracle Real Application Clusters. We need low latency connectivity because we can do that on premises. We can do that in another cloud and connect across interconnects, but these applications need to be very close to the databases they talk to, especially for chatty mission-critical applications where every microsecond matters. And so running them within AWS data centers allows them to connect really easily and closely to your AWS application services. They told us they wanted a seamless experience, so they didn't want just some IP address to some black box that they can connect to. They wanted an integrated experience where they're purchasing through AWS Marketplace, they're provisioning using AWS APIs and CLIs and console and tools, and they're integrating directly with things like identity and access management, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, and that sort of thing. And most importantly, they wanted to be able to bring their enterprise data to native AWS services and allow their workloads running on EC2 and ECS and EKS and SageMaker and all these great services allowed to access their Oracle database workloads. And so that's what we've been working on for the last year. So I'm going to use a customer journey as sort of an example to talk through some of the capabilities of the service and how it works. And so let's say a customer like Equifax is moving to the cloud, they've got workloads that they need to migrate, and they've got these mission-critical databases that they haven't been able to move to the cloud, and now with the Oracle Database at AWS, they're able to. There's kind of 3 big steps in this journey for them. First, they're going to work with us through the AWS Marketplace to purchase and subscribe to the service. Second, once they've got that subscription up and running, they're going to actually provision Oracle AI database resources into their AWS account. And then once those services are up and running, they're going to bring their data and unify it with their services running in AWS. So let's kind of walk through that and see how this works. So first of all, they're going to subscribe to the AWS Marketplace. This works through a private offer. So you're still going to work with your Oracle account team to put together an offer based on your commitment and consumption and estimated usage over the next year or so. They'll help you put that private offer together, and then you'll purchase it through the AWS Marketplace. And you can purchase it either directly or as a channel partner private offer through one of our great software integrators or ISV partners that are really key in a lot of customer migrations. You'll pay AWS. If you have spending commitments with AWS, this will count against that. And you'll get great flexible licensing options. If you want the best elasticity, you can use license included and just pay hourly for the license fees and get all the bells and whistles and capabilities of Oracle Database. If you've already made that on-premises licensing investment, you can use bring your own licensing with great license portability options and optimal licensing metrics. So you get the same licensing metrics that you have in OCI or on-premises. That's half the license requirement of running on vCPU-based licensing in authorized cloud environments. So there's already some great opportunities for cost savings. And you'll get access to OCI and Oracle database services running in these AWS data centers. So let's look at what some of those Oracle database services are. And it's all built on Oracle Exadata. Exadata is the hardware and software platform that Oracle's built over the last 12 or so years to be the best place to run Oracle database. You can run Oracle database on your own servers. You can run on virtual machines. There's a lot of ways you can do it. But the people that built the software said, what can we really do with hardware after the Sun Microsystems acquisition to really be the best place to run Oracle database? And so we've built data intelligent software and hardware where the hardware knows what a database is, it knows what a database extent is, it knows what your data is, and it can work seamlessly together with CPUs and storage and CPUs on compute nodes to give you some of the best performance, the best availability, the best scalability in the industry. And of course, it's the exact same Exadata hardware that runs anywhere else you want to run it. So you can run it on premises with cloud at customer or in OCI or in our multi-cloud environments. On top of that Exadata hardware, we built the Exadata database service on dedicated infrastructure. So this is one of the key services in this offering. With Exadata database service, you're going to subscribe to physical hardware dedicated to your use, starting at 2 compute nodes, 3 storage nodes. That's about 400 CPU cores and 240 terabytes of storage. You need more than that, just add more compute nodes, more storage nodes, 80 terabytes at a time. Build out a cluster how big you need. So Oracle is going to own and manage the infrastructure itself. So this is, again, Oracle Exadata hardware sitting in AWS data centers managed by Oracle personnel. We're going to manage the hypervisor, set everything up, configure all the networking, all the RDMA, all the hard parts of running rack, and getting everything configured and put together for you. Customers are going to subscribe at the VM cluster level, so you'll deploy VM clusters that divide up your dedicated infrastructure however works for you and whatever suits your need. You could have one big VM on each server that contains all the CPUs and memory. You can divide them up between your prod, dev, test workloads. You can have a bunch of different workloads running in there. And then within each VM cluster, you run your container databases. Within those, your pluggable databases. Once you're inside the database, the customer owns everything. It's your data, it's your schema, your encryption keys. Everything inside the database is yours. Oracle personnel can't access it. AWS can't access it. Great security model here. Everything is managed by you inside the database. Our second major service offering here is built on top of Exadata. This is the Autonomous Database Service. And Autonomous Database on dedicated infrastructure, one of the really cool things here is that you get the flexibility to run both Exadata VM clusters and Autonomous VM clusters on the same dedicated infrastructure. So you get to decide how to divide it up and what services you want to run on top of it. Autonomous Database gives you a fully managed database experience where we've taken care of all the infrastructure as well as the performance tuning, the configuration, and the operation of the database. And Avinash is going to be talking a little bit about how Equifax has chosen and benefited from Autonomous Database and the capabilities that it brings. So you just tell us what kind of workload you're running, whether it's OLTP or data warehouse, and how many CPUs you want to run it on. We'll take care of tuning, set the SGA, PGA, configure the database to work for your workload. As your workload shifts, we'll adjust tuning parameters to accommodate that, and we'll grow the database for you and manage that configuration, patching everything else under the covers for you. And then the third major service that we have as part of this offering from OCI today is the Zero Data Loss Autonomous Recovery Service, which is a bit of a mouthful. But if you've used the Zero Data Loss Recovery appliance on premises, this is, again, where we've sat down and figured out what's the best way to back up an Oracle database to provide you the best protection, the lowest impact during backups, and the greatest recovery options. And so this, again, runs in AWS data centers, allows you to keep your data in AWS, and backup using the greatest capabilities. There's really neat capability here where we take one full backup when you start, and then everything is incremental from there. When you do a point-in-time restore, you're not worrying about layers of incremental apply on top of each other. You just tell us when you want to restore to, and the service is going to take care of synthesizing whatever state the blocks all need to be in to get you back up and running. All right, so those are the capabilities that we have that you'll subscribe to through the AWS Marketplace. How do you actually make use of it? Well, you're going to provision it using the AWS Management Console, APIs, CLIs, CloudFormation, Terraform. You're going to integrate with the capabilities of identity and access management, connect it to your VPC, monitor host metrics in CloudWatch, send audit to CloudTrail when you perform service operations, encrypt data using transparent data encryption, now supporting AWS KMS, and you can even back it up to Amazon S3. So again, this isn't just some IP address or a black box at the end of an interconnect. This is a service deeply integrated with our partners at AWS. Now you'll, again, provision Exadata infrastructure and VM clusters into your AWS account. And this is a really simplified architecture, but I think this diagram, there's 4 things I like to call out about this. First of all, right in the middle is your Oracle AI database services, so Exadata database service and autonomous database, living, again, in an AWS data center in an availability zone. We'll tell you the zone IDs where these are located, and you can provision those into your AZs. The second is this connection back to OCI region. So this is a managed service operated by Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and so our control plane in a nearby region using high availability redundant links is going to connect to the services running in AWS and operate the service for you. The third major thing to call out is the ODB network here. This is a new AWS construct that allows you to contain logical settings for networking for your databases. It's a lot like a VPC, but it can only contain Oracle Database AWS resources, and it can't contain an internet gateway. You'll access services by peering it to a VPC, and that VPC can, of course, contain things like transit gateways or Cloud WAN so that you can fan out to broader networks. And then the fourth thing is the applications. That's the whole point of being here, is to run these database workloads against AWS services and applications. And of course, that's a simplified diagram. We can get really complicated with this. We support maximum availability architecture gold certified configurations. This is an example of a cross-region replication, but you can set up cross-AZ replication. We're going to be 2 AZs everywhere we operate. You can be cross-AZ and cross-region. And all this replication is just a matter of clicking a few buttons in the OCI console to enable DataGuard replication. You can also manage a fast start failover if you want the highest levels of availability. Now, how do you get your data into this? Well, it's an Oracle database. So my favorite answer to this is however you move data today. If you already, a lot of DBAs already have practices built around data pump or export or logical migrations. You're already moving data around in your infrastructure a lot today. So the first answer is move data however you were already moving data if that's what's already working for you. The second answer is going to be Oracle Zero Downtime Migration. This is utility that we offer that wraps around a lot of those capabilities like data pump and export and RMAN and DataGuard and even Golden Gate, which you can use Golden Gate for logical replication into OCI database services license-free for 6 months, so a great capability there. We can connect to just about any source database, just about any source platform, and migrate those workloads to Oracle Database into AWS services. It's essentially just a binary that you download. Again, it's going to wrap all those capabilities. You'll tell it what kind of migration you want based on your criteria. So do I need an online or an offline migration? Is downtime really sensitive to me, or can I do this over a weekend? Is this going to be a physical migration or a logical migration? Now, with Exadata database service, you have access to the host, you have sysdba access, so you can do RMAN and DataGuard-based physical migrations. With autonomous database, you don't have host access and you don't have sys and sysdba access. So you're going to do a logical migration, which can integrate data pump and Golden Gate to still get you a really low, close to zero downtime migration. And then third, you've got these database services up and running. You have databases in AWS running on Exadata, running on the autonomous database. Your business data has been migrated. And now you've got the best of both worlds. You've got your world-class Exadata database services. You've got your business data, you've got the capabilities of AWS, and you can bring those all together to get deeper insights, build more scalable, reliable applications, and reduce your management overhead. The great thing about managed services is, especially in this AI era, your data is the most important asset you have and increasing in value every day. Your DBAs know where your data is, where it's moving, who's accessing it, how it needs to be secured. They really should be working on things like managing that data and integrating it with your new AI capabilities and services and other applications rather than troubleshooting backups or patching operating systems or figuring out why a failover didn't happen. Now, you also get access to the latest version of Oracle AI Database because this is essentially Oracle Cloud Infrastructure under the covers. These are OCI managed database services. So as we come out with new versions of Oracle Database, it's going to be available immediately in Oracle Database at AWS. It's a whole lot of new features that I'd love to talk about, but I don't have time for that. So there's one example that I like, and I know y'all haven't heard enough about AI this week, so I thought I would use an AI example. So with 26 AI, we've added a new vector data type. As we start working with AI a lot, one of the things that becomes really useful is vectorizing our data. A vector is essentially a mathematical representation of complex attributes of data that can be generated by an LLM and then stored natively in the database. And once we have data represented mathematically, we can now really easily do operations. The database compute engine really loves math. It's very easy to do. And we don't have to worry about more complex things than that. So you can add a vector data type, you can generate embeddings, store those in the database, and now you can get the benefits of LLMs just using SQL. So here's an example. So let's say you've got a database that contains a bunch of rows of data that describe houses for sale, and there's all these sorts of attributes. There's number of bedrooms and bathrooms and construction type and build time and what school district it's located in and how much your HOA fees are. If I'm looking for a house with 2 bedrooms in a particular school district that's kind of new construction and maybe I want a certain kind of roof, building that query can be really difficult. I can search for all those attributes, but I'm probably going to leave on the table things that are similar to those houses, but maybe don't meet all my checkboxes. Maybe it's right next to a really great school district, but it's 1.5 bedrooms or a bedroom and a den, or maybe it's an older house and I want a new construction, but it meets a lot of my other checkboxes. Well, I can take all those attributes from those rows of data, I can embed an LLM inside the database with 26 AI if I'd like to, or I can use a service like Amazon Bedrock and call a Titan model and have it generate vector embeddings, and my application can just store those in vector columns in my database next to the existing product data all in the same place. And now doing that query is just a matter of a vector distance order by. So select rows from this table, order by vector distance of an embedding vector for my search terms and this column of vectorized data. And now we can use the benefits of LLMs and natural language processing to find the closest matches really, really simply without having to replicate my data elsewhere, without having to have a separate vector store, without taking on the headache, the security pain, the governance overhead of maintaining multiple data stores for the same data. Of course, there's a lot of other capabilities of Oracle Database 26 AI. I'd love to talk about them all. But hopefully that gives you a sense of what you get when you get access to the latest features of Oracle Database running on Oracle hardware managed by OCI, sitting in AWS data centers. We'll have some resources to link to at the end, and of course, our documentation and product pages can get you going in a lot more information, and we're always happy to talk more. So now I'd like to turn it over to Jeremy Shearer and our AWS partners.
Hello. So, Jeremy Shearer, I'm a partner solution architect here at AWS in the Oracle Alliance team. I'm joined by Pat.
Yeah, I'm Pat Bangalore. I'm the partner development manager looking after the alliance with Oracle. I'm a AWS Alliances manager as well. Yeah. Okay.
So to recap something that we just talked about is this offering has been rolled out to 2 regions already, Northern Virginia and Oregon, and we've announced 20 additional regions around the globe. Some of them are going to be coming very soon. Some of them maybe a year or so out with that. These regions are being deployed with multiple availability zones. So in Northern Virginia and Oregon, we've both deployed with 2 availability zones, and you're going to see that pattern continue as we're rolling out the service globally. So from a foundation perspective, just to come back, which a lot of the people in this room already know about, is the definition of an AWS region is a bit unique to Amazon, where we define a region as having multiple availability zones, and that is the basis for how we approach high availability at Amazon. So these availability zones are geographically separated from each other a meaningful distance. So if an event happens in one availability zone, it's unlikely to impact the other availability zones. But they're close enough together that latency is often not a problem, across them. So now how do we apply that with Oracle Database at AWS? And how do we do high availability using the Amazon concept of high availability? The way we approach that is we deploy an Exadata into the first availability zone, and then we use DataGuard replication to synchronously replicate the database either with maximum protection mode or maximum availability mode to replicate that database to a second availability zone. So that gives us a no data loss configuration. Some applications are a bit more latency sensitive. They can't even handle that level of replication, that sub-2 millisecond replication. They may change into a maximum performance mode and replicate asynchronously. But the preferred pattern is to do synchronous replication between these 2 availability zones. We'll then deploy in the third availability zone, a data guard observer to support fast start failover to monitor those Exadatas in the other availability zones, detect problems, and help arbitrate and manage an automatic failover between the two Exadatas if it's needed. But this bottom part of the chart here is just half the picture. That's the database part of the picture, the MAA Gold architecture that we talked about earlier. When you move up the stack, you need to make sure the top side of the stack is equally configured, highly available. So in this configuration, we would deploy the application tier across multiple availability zones. We'll typically use an AWS application load balancer to distribute the load among the application tier, detect if there's an anomaly in one of the availability zones and redirect the traffic to the remaining availability zones to give you a complete application and database high availability pattern. One of the reactions to this is, hey, that looks expensive. You're telling me I need an Exadata in the first availability zone, an Exadata in the second availability zone, and maybe another Exadata for disaster recovery. Well, there's a lot of capabilities to control cost in this solution. One of the key capabilities is we can run that second Exadata in a pilot light configuration where we only turn on the CPUs that we need to manage that replication. These Oracle databases support online scaling, so you can turn up the CPUs when you need them during a failover event or during a DR event to help manage that cost. You can also deploy in a rack single node configuration. You don't have to do multi-node rack on these Exadatas. You can deploy on a single instance, and that is another way to manage the cost. So the takeaway from this is a robust architecture, and it doesn't have to break the bank to deploy it. Once you have the Oracle Database AWS deployed, you can actually take advantage of our over 200 services that integrate with it. Up on the screen here, we have several of the services that tightly integrate with ODB at AWS that we use often. S3 backups is on here. You can do the automated backups of ODB at AWS to S3. That is an option. You see Terraform and CloudFormation on here. Those are completely baked into the solution for automated provisioning and configuration management. I'm going to dig more into the AWS Resource Access Manager. I'll be talking about our observability, and I'll be talking about KMS on the upcoming slides. I'll dig more into those. So again, when we talk about, hey, we're going to deploy this architecture in an MAA Gold pattern, we have all of these Exadatas, that is a lot of horsepower we're deploying. Each one of these Exadatas has 240 terabytes of storage, 380 cores, 2.7 terabytes of RAM. Not all of your business units need that much horsepower to run. So with AWS Resource Access Manager, we can actually share this Exadata infrastructure across multiple AWS accounts in our organization. So you can have your manufacturing organization running their own Exadata instance on that underlying hardware. And that underlying hardware is then shared with the retail operation running customer databases and your logistics operation managing the truck deployments. Most customers are going to have some segregation between production and non-production, different AWS accounts to do that. That's also supported here where you can mix and match those. Particularly when you're looking into that multi-AZ configuration, a very common pattern we see is that people deploy the non-production on that MAZ, the secondary AZ node, or the secondary AZ Exadatas. So once you have this scaled out to your organization, you need to think about securing it. And how do you secure this at scale with all of these database clusters across all these different AWS accounts? And the answer to that is AWS KMS, the key management service. So with AWS KMS, we can manage the Oracle TDE keys, transparent database encryption keys, directly inside of KMS. So no longer do you have to have a separate solution to manage your application encryption keys from your database keys. You have a single consolidated solution to manage all of your encryption in one place. So you now have it deployed, highly available across your organization. You've shared it with Resource Access Manager so different entities within your organization can leverage it. You've secured it with KMS. Now you're running and operating it. With AWS CloudWatch, you can actually see the metrics inside of the Exadata in your CloudWatch dashboards. You can see the CPU and the disk I/O and the different performance characteristics right alongside all of the metrics that are emitted from your application tier, and reduce your mean time to recovery when you have an event to actually see what is happening within your system, all within the same dashboard. So I was given just a few minutes here to talk about some of the services that really excite me. I'm going to hand it over now to Pat Bangalore to talk a little bit more about the AWS and Oracle relationship. Pat.
Thank you, Jeremy. So Michael Barris, during the initial slides, talked about the partnership and the alliance. And the reason why Larry Ellison and Matt Gorman stood on stage and had this partnership alliance stitched together is because of these reasons. And if you look at this alliance, this was born out of clear customer need. When you look at 90% of the Fortune 100 companies are running AWS, and then close to 87% of customers are running Exadatas, whether they are on-premises or clouded customer or in some way, shape, or form. Exadatas are ingrained within customers for various workloads, whether it is application workloads or analytical workloads, data warehouse workloads, and so on and so forth. So what we are seeing here is customers have got applications deployed on AWS. They've got large databases running on Exadata on premises. And they reached out to us saying that, how do we get this together? We want these applications closer to the databases, and we want them within the AWS data centers. And that's exactly what we did. And that's where this partnership and alliance took place, where we were able to roll in Exadata racks inside AWS data centers to offer low latency, high throughput for the chatty applications that you all have. I want to quickly talk about support. On the support side, this is a collaborative support. So the partnership does not end just with feature functionalities, co-engineering innovations, and some of the other aspects of features that we want to bring to our customers. One of the key aspects of this collaborative support is to start looking at what are some of the technical limits, what are some of the billing limits, and then how we help our customers. From a technical standpoint, if you have an issue with ODB and AWS or anything related to the connectivity of the applications within AWS, the first point of contact would be my Oracle support. So you open up a service request with Oracle, or have our AWS technical account manager call Oracle's duty manager to open up a support request. Okay? And make sure that you have customers have the OCI tenancy, will have a customer support identifier, you'll have the CSI and all those jazz, so you should be able to get that. So on the billing side, customers start in AWS support, right? From a billing, because this is being transacted as a SaaS private offer through AWS Marketplace. So the billing occurs on AWS. So make sure that if you have got any issues with AWS billing, the first line of contact would be our customer solutions manager or technical account manager from AWS side, helping you out on the billing constructs. Okay? Now, if it is something on the OCI side, if you're not able to look at it, you wanted to get some details done, then certainly our technical account managers would contact the duty managers from Oracle to open up a service request and then start triaging the problem. So that is how we try to segregate between a technical limit and the billing limit process. On the issues of onboarding, obviously, when you get into an onboarding of Exadata, you're going to go through the private offer. Michael explained to you how the private offer scenario goes through and all that. you won't have a CSI number assigned to it. So at that point of time, you would use the toll-free 1-800 number to contact Oracle to help with a customer support identifier, or maybe have a duty manager help you through this process, bringing in Oracle experts to resolve that issue. Okay? So it's not just from a technical aspect of co-innovation, but we also have collaborative support. And on the next side, I want to talk about business. So I know Michael and Jeremy really touched upon a lot of things on the technical features and innovations. Let's talk business. Let's talk dollars here for a second, okay? So a lot of folks here might know that you're key influencers in the procurement process, in understanding PPA drawdown and commitment. So I want to bring this to you that from an ODB at AWS standpoint, if you're going to be migrating assets from on-premises to AWS, we do have the famous migration acceleration program funding mechanism, where it is not just the funding mechanism for assess, mobilize, migrate, and modernize. We also have tools and technologies and resources that we have built in as part of MAP program to help you seamlessly migrate your workloads from on-prem to cloud. Okay? The second aspect is when you have a private pricing agreement with AWS, which is formally called as the Enterprise Discount Program, where we provide you with a list of discounts for using AWS services, plus we also provide you with AWS credits and so on and so forth. In return, customers like yourselves would have commitments with AWS. So those commitments can now be fully eligible at 100% for ODB at AWS consumption. Now, even though this goes through Marketplace, there is a 25% cap for ODB at AWS consumption. That cap does not exist. That's been removed for ODB at AWS. Again, ODB at AWS consumption is at 100% for all your commitments towards your PPA, right? You can draw down your PPA commitments through these consumption. The second aspect is what we introduced in October of last month is the channel partner private offer, CPPO. So this is for SIs and systems integrators and ISVs and distributors who want to resell ODB at AWS to your end customers. So you own the billing, right? The SI owns the billing and controls the billing and resells ODB to your end customer. So you can do your migration, you can do your managed services, run and maintain, plus the billing aspect. So it'll be a single throat to choke. It'll be a one single bill that you want to give to your end customer. So partners who have a PPA with AWS through the channel partner private offer can retire your quotas at 100%, similar to what we offer for end customers. So direct customers can retire quota at 100% for ODB at AWS consumption. Channel partner private offer, systems integrators can retire quota at 100%. Plus you've got the MAP incentive, right? So we're trying to put everything together from a business construct for you to make it easier. Technologically, yes, it is much more advanced, but also from a business construct, we wanted to make it very simple and easier for you to draw down your consumptions towards your PPA commitments. So I want to bring this all back together, right? We stitched this partnership. We had this for our end customer benefit and for our partners. We have got the full feature functionalities of Oracle Exadata. You've got the Enterprise Edition. You've got all the features of the database that you get. Plus, you also get the real application clusters. I know that some of our customers, the joint customers, use a lot of these applications that rely on RAC for workload balancing, application continuity, transparent application failover, and things of that nature. So it's great to have Exadata with RAC built in for you and the rich features and functionalities that Michael Barris talks about. The second is the low latency, right? We are pushing the boundaries here by bringing Exadata racks inside AWS data centers in truckloads and then offering ping pipe and power, making sure that it is all being interconnected together in the same data centers thereby reducing latency and improving your throughput for your chatty applications. And then the whole seamless experience, right? You've got one single bill, you've got the app tier and the database tier running together. It is a private offer through the marketplace, and it is a single management console that you can provision both your app tiers and your databases which are residing on Exadata. And then finally, leverage AWS native services, especially generative AI, Agent Core, Amazon Bedrock, everything seamlessly getting integrated with analytical solutions with Oracle's Exadata. Now, with all being said, I'm going to get this to Equifax, Mr. Avinash Singh, who is going to explain to you how the journey for their organization, bringing in Oracle's Exadata into AWS and leveraging their BRM application workloads for their migration, specifically autonomous database constructs into their organization. Avinash, please.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Mike and Jeremy. So there's a lot talk about the benefits and what are the use cases that we can use ADB. So I'm going to go to here talk a little bit about Equifax, what we do, and who we are. And also we'll select one of the major use cases where we selected the ADB at AWS. So we are using autonomous database service. Let's talk little in the slide what we are going to go to present, and let's talk about who we are. So we are almost 15,000 bright minds across the globe, supporting 24 plus countries, providing that consumer services from the credit perspective. We are one of the biggest 3 credit bureau in US, and we take care of a lot of consumer needs on the financial data perspective. So if you see in the slide that we have supported almost 29 million US consumers obtained the loans to buy the car in 2024. So this is the 2024 data. 9.2 million almost user consumers, they applied for home loans and mortgages. So they all use that our Equifax services. We also add a lot of value in our community. So we, Equifax actually invested around 3.3 million for Equifax Foundation and gives to the whole community of US and global. We have the verification services quite used by the government agencies to provide support to the needed people, any assistance needed from the government. So we have done almost 25.5 million verification for people seeking government support. So there are a few things that Equifax does, and all those things are possible through that underlying Equifax technologies, definitely supported by AWS and Oracle. So why Equifax? We have our proprietary cloud built using Equifax proprietary knowledge base. We mainly focus on 3 major principles: differentiated data, advanced analytic, and global insight. Differentiated data basically makes sure that it provides the quicker and confined data and all those information to the consumer who are needed. So basically the data needs to be very confined. That's why that we seek that products like Oracle product or AWS product where that our data sit, and then we provide that confined data and differentiated data to the consumers. We use advanced analytics. That advanced analytics concept basically to help consumers to get the data faster, whatever the information they need for their consumer data. And then finally that global insight. So the data that has that various attributes, right? The consumer requires that different attributes from that their consumer reports, credit reports and all that. So these are the 3 major principles Equifax uses to provide the services to the consumers. So here that use case that why we need ADB at AWS. So I support the global platforms for financial services. We are using whole set of Oracle products. You can name it like Oracle EBS, WCI, OBIE, and one of the major product is Oracle BRM, which is Oracle Billing and Revenue Management System. This particular system is very highly OLTP. We use that system for usage, rating, billing, and generating the invoices. So there are several fulfillment systems in Equifax where that we provide several services. All those uses needs to interface with our billing system, and we have to rate those transaction on time. We have to bill, and then we have to deliver the invoices on time. Otherwise, it would be marked as a very big revenue loss for us. So it's a very critical mission system where that we need a very high performant, supercharged workload to be performed all the analysis, all the rating, billing, and invoicing. So that is one of the reasons that we selected Oracle ADB at AWS. So if you see here that we have that key considerations for the BRM databases, why that we need ADB at AWS. We have been a very good user of RDS. RDS is an awesome product. We are using RDS Oracle, but it has certain limitations. So good that it was announced yesterday that it is having 256 terabyte now going to be available, but we have been running with this challenge of 64 terabyte. So as I mentioned that we operate on around 24 countries. So all the 24 countries legacy billing system is migrated to our global billing system. So you can think of the enormous data of the billing comes to our billing system. So we always struggle for the storage. So we have hit off the 64 terabyte limitation of RDS. So that we were thinking, what is the better kind of a service that we can replace with RDS, because RDS is an awesome service. And that's what the confusion, if you see the guy on the left, it's not like that I'm having a trouble. I'm just thinking, okay, how should I just move from RDS to ADB at AWS, because RDS is also an awesome service. But there are very key benefits, like Michael, Jeremy, and Pat all talked about that, what the benefit it is going to give us when that we move to ADB. So it's a best of both worlds. It's sitting in AWS. It's one of the best Oracle database product, sitting on Exadata. It's autonomous, similar experience like that we are getting with RDS, because that our DBAs need not to break their heads to maintain the infrastructure, then database, patching, and all that, all will be covered with ADB, which is the same experience we have with RDS. So it's like a more performance system because of the Exadata power. Sitting with AWS, so it's like as Michael and Jeremy talked about the seamless integration with around 200 services, right? So that we are going to go to leverage. So certain benefits I put here that with moving this billing system to our ADB, what would be the benefits? So first is like definitely performance and throughput. Exadata power, everybody knows that, how that performant it is. You can horizontally scale how many compute nodes you want, lot of cores and lot of storage availability is there, so our storage problem will be resolved. Currently that we have to purge the databases every quarter because of the storage limitation. We have almost 8 terabyte per month growth of the database. So you think that how we sustain with 64 terabyte, now that we have a petabytes of storage available with the ADB. So that is one of the major consideration of moving to ADB. Then that 26 AI was announced in Oracle AI World, and then 23 AI was existed. So we were thinking by moving this, our database to ADB, 23 AI or 26 AI, harnessing of AI power we can utilize. So my data, as soon as I migrate my data to ADB, my data will be AI ready. ADB comes with Apex 24, which we can create a lot of Apex forms and all that to harness your AI capability, which data by default sitting in AI database. So this is like making your data ready AI, right, by just doing this migration. So those are the multiple benefits that we seek from ADB, and that's why we started the journey. We completed all our non-prod. We are going live by April, May some time frame with all our databases to ADB. So far it's very seamless journey, very good journey, and both AWS and Oracle are supporting us to make this happen. So thanks to Oracle and AWS. Having said that, Michael, you want to add something?
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Avinash. We really appreciate that story, and thank you all again for being here. Hopefully we've given you a good understanding of what Oracle Database at AWS is, why we've built it, and how it can benefit from you. So I'd really like to say a really big thank you to our partners at AWS who made this possible, and our customers for who we built this. I don't know if there's a better example of customer obsession than Oracle and AWS coming together to build these workloads for our customers. And again, this was really built because our customers asked for it. So keep that in mind when you go meet with your Oracle and AWS account teams. Let them know what you'd like from this service, from other services. We really want to hear from you. We want to hear what we should be doing next, where we should be going next, and how we can better help you. We do have some resources you can check out here. We do still have one more day of the Expo, our booth 1767, back right corner of the Expo Hall. We've got a lot of experts there that are happy to answer any questions you have about the service. And there's also the AWS database booth in the pavilion. And of course, I have to please ask you to fill out your session surveys and let us know how we did. They don't actually let us expense our lunch unless we've got a certain number of surveys in. So please, we really appreciate the feedback, and it helps us understand what to talk about next. So thank you all for being here. We do have a few minutes to answer some questions.